I'd like to now ask the Executive Director of Radical Middle Way, veteran journalist, commentator, activist, guru, sage, Fuad Nahdi, to say a few words. Fuad himself has been deeply engaged with issues, particularly in the developing world, for almost his entire life, and certainly his entire professional life. And among the work that the Radical Middle Way has been engaged in is to try and create these kinds of partnerships that we're creating tonight around issues of global and local social justice, and in this case, trade justice. So, Fuad, the stage is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's difficult to follow up on Harriet's inspiring and insightful speech. We Muslims in Britain know that Ramadan comes when suddenly Asda's got special Ramadan offers. I was shocked about 10 days ago. I walked into my local Asda and they had chickpeas and chopped tomatoes, by the dozen, and I saw a long queue. I come from tiny island in East Africa where Ramadan was also given some kind of welcome ceremony, which took at least 3 months. But the building up was not only about chopped tomatoes and chickpeas and special sales of cuts of meat, but a combination of the material, the kind of each society in the Muslim world. When you go around, you'll find that Ramadan is a combination of specialized food, specialized prayers, and specialized celebrations. Here in Britain, we are faced with the challenge of creating those. Back home, the day before you fast, when they saw the moon, they used to make a big canon. That's the only time the canon in the old fort was used, was to announce the coming of the month. Month also brought his special dishes and special fruits and vegetables and stuff. There was extra demand for more food because somehow during a month of fasting, people feasted more. But also because there was more sharing amongst the people and stuff. But the whole point was a famous saying in the language, my mother language in Swahili, to say that in Ramadan, faida ni ya Mungu, profit belongs to God. So people always negotiated. Actually, during the month, the food was much more cheaper because there was much more available and people felt generous to share on that kind. It's very interesting times that we are living in. And at the moment, like my friend Sheikhna was pointing out to me, we live in 3 major crises. We have the human crisis in the so-called Arab Spring that is happening in the Muslim world. We have another crisis of the financial meltdown that is going across the world, that today the richest supposed country in the world is on the brink of renegading on its international debts, and countries like Egypt, which is causing a lot of stress and tensions and things like that. The third one, which is much more sad, is a natural catastrophe. Nearly 10 million people are facing starvation in the Horn of Africa. We just came out after the tsunami in Japan. For us Muslims, these are all signs, perhaps of the irresponsibility, or perhaps the responsibility we need to take to make changes that are going to matter in the real world. We are very proud from Radical Middle Way to be involved in this, because we think that we as a community, Muslims, it is almost obligatory for us to engage in efforts or campaigns like the Fairtrade one. And Ramadan is a month of renewal in many aspects. So our idea is perhaps for the few of us and the numbers are increasing all the time. In this new way forward that we're moving, we start talking about fair trade, more about justice in the way we eat and in the way we clothe ourselves and in the way, perhaps we even travel. There are some eco tours and things like that. I was telling Harriet that I grew up on the slogan, as I was living in the third world as an activist, on trade, not aid. And then somewhere along the line, lost the plot. That I don't know how many people know, but this month is actually 15 years for fair trade. 15 years is not a long time. But the movement has made perhaps some of the most amazing, it's one of the most amazing success story of a social movement in the globe today. That I used to think only that fair trade is only about clipper teas. I didn't like it because I come from Kenya and we grow very good tea. And the tea and coffee came from these other foreign lands. But I still bought it and tried to mix it with the other to just sort of mix guilt with taste. But I can see walking around just in this room that the whole thing has expanded and it is growing. And perhaps I'm prepared myself to say that I changed my taste for tea in order to be more just. And perhaps we need to make these kind of arrangements. The issue about it today, the most profitable part of our business sector is the food industry. I mean, the supermarkets are the only ones which profit do not go down. They make billions. But anybody who goes to the third world and see that increasingly the people who produce the mango that you crave in your Tesco or Sainsbury or Asda is getting actually less and less. A few days ago, somebody was talking about pineapple juices. Where I grew up, we grow a lot of pineapples. And Del Monte, I think, is the company which came. And one of the things that happened when I went, the pineapple in that part of the world was very sweet. When I went there, the sweet pineapple was not available. And if it was available very cheap on the market, on the local market. But what happened is Del Monte wanted pineapples which they can export, which can last for 3 months before they reach the market. So they killed literally all the other varieties in order to have that one. So I missed my original pineapple. And you have to think about these things because it's already talking about making a kind of species extinct, not because of the taste, but because of the market values and things. And I think for our young people who are confused about the different demands made on their conscience, it's very important for us to give them agendas in which they can make actual change in their own lives, in their communities, and the whole society. One of the most boring things you can think about is being a young British Muslim. You're not allowed to have drugs, you're not allowed to have sex, and you can't rock and roll. Nowadays, you're not even allowed to have some bit of jihad. So we have to redefine, if we can tell our young people that part of the change is to get engaged, to make the changes of lives of real people on the front line where they grow cotton or where they grow mangoes or rice. I think you'll find that there's a lot of enthusiasm. We will continue working, Radical Middle Way is a small organization, but we'll continue working with Fair Trade on this. I come in another hat where I'm acting director of a Muslim college. There are about 136 academic institutions in the country. I'm proud to say that from the beginning of this week, the Muslim College in London has become a fair trade place. We have an executive board meeting of the Mosques and Imam National Advisory Board, which is a collection of all the mosques in Britain. At the moment, 876 mosques are registered with us. I have never put an item on the agenda, but for our next meeting, I've put that mosques should, unless they can explain, sign up for Fairtrade. So I hope this number of 3 will go up quite substantially. I think so. I could go on, but I was given a certain time, and Abdurrahman is perhaps the only person in the room who's twice my size, and I always tend to be cautious. I just like to end with 1 or 2 things about the marketplace. There are scholars of Islam here who might elaborate on that and stuff, but Muslims normally fear the marketplace. It is the one place where a person is very weak, because we do believe that it's a place where the devil rules, is a marketplace. Few people can resist the devil in any circumstances, but in the marketplace is very strong. And here we've turned the whole world into one big marketplace. I was talking to somebody who was telling that there is a product, which perhaps for legal reason I will not mention, whose only budget for advertising is $3 billion a year. But the product itself costs only $150 million to make. You can go and make up your own mind what that product is. But we drink a lot of it, particularly during Ramadan. I wish all of you Ramadan Kareem when it's coming. We thank again very much Harriet and her team for really being cooperative and dynamic. Like I said, this is a journey which will be done, and we can only go strong to strong. And I thank everybody who is coming here. We would have loved to give you pakoras and biryani, but still they are not fair trade biryanis and pakora. But I promise you, next year, if we can get at that level, we will do that. Thank you all very much, and look forward to a fair trade thing. Please, I know you've come, you've done that, but try to spend a bit of money and buy some of the stuff. Why? Because you're going to like it. Second, it will prevent you from buying the other nasty stuff out there. Thank you very much. Come on.